News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Nathan Hager.
And I'm Karen Moscow.
Karen, we begin with breaking news from the Vatican. Pope Francis has died. The Vatican's Cardinal Kevin Farrell says the leader of the Roman Catholic Church passed away this morning after Easter, a day after what would turn out to be his final public appearance at St. Peter's Basilica.
Buona Domenica delle Palme. Buona Settimana Santa.
Pope Francis was the first pontiff from the Americas, the first non-European since the 8th century, the first Jesuit to lead the Catholic Church. And from the beginning, he tried to embody the simplicity of his namesake, Saint Francis of Assisi.
I would like a church for the poor.
Pope Francis spoke often on social issues. On gay priests, he once said, "Who am I to judge?" And he once warned President Trump that mass deportations would end badly. Francis also tried to lift the veil on Vatican finances and to atone for clergy sexual abuse. He called on global leaders to end poverty through a fairer distribution of wealth.
We are also challenged to reflect on how well we are transmitting our values to the next generation.
Pope Francis had been in the hospital for more than a month back in February with bronchitis that progressed into pneumonia. He just met with Vice President J.D. Vance yesterday at the Vatican. Pope Francis was 88 years old.
Well, Nathan, we want to turn back to the U.S. and politics now. The U.S. Defense Secretary once again facing criticism after sharing military details in another Signal chat. And Bloomberg's Scott Carr joins us with more from Washington.
Sources tell the New York Times U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth sent military strike information in a private encrypted Signal group chat for a second time. Reports say that chat was created by Hegseth and included his wife, brother, and personal lawyer. Hegseth's personal lawyer and his brother work for the Pentagon. His wife is not a Defense Department official. The Times reports the content included sensitive information about forthcoming strikes in Yemen on March 15th, similar to the attack plans that Hegseth shared in another reported Signal chat where he included the editor of The Atlantic. This report after a Politico op-ed from Hegseth's former spokesman, who says the Defense Department has been overwhelmed by dysfunction and turnover during Hegseth's tenure leading the Pentagon. In Washington, I'm Scott Carr, Bloomberg Radio.
All right, Scott, thank you. Meantime, a draft executive order is circulating among U.S. diplomats that proposes a radical reduction to and restructuring of the State Department. A copy of the document seen by Bloomberg News shows that the changes, if implemented, would be one of the biggest reorganizations of the State Department since it was founded in 1789. The order would eliminate dozens of positions and departments, including those dealing with climate, refugees, democracy, and Africa, as well as the Bureau of International Organizations, which liaises with the United Nations. Now, Secretary of State Marco Rubio is calling the reported overhaul fake news in a post on X.
Well, Nathan, elsewhere in Washington, Senator Chris Van Hollen is defending the due process rights of a migrant who was mistakenly deported from his state to a notorious prison in his home country of El Salvador. The Maryland Democrat appeared on all 4 Sunday political shows heard on Bloomberg Radio after meeting with Kilmer Abrego Garcia, including CBS's Face the Nation.
The Supreme Court of the United States and the other courts have said that the administration has to facilitate his return. As of right now, they are in defiance of that court order. They're not doing anything.
But White House border czar Tom Homan says the administration is following the law, even after the Supreme Court blocked the government from expelling migrants under the Alien Enemies Act, and he was on ABC's This Week.
We have followed the Constitution. We have followed the law. I am confident that everything we've done is follow the laws within the constitutional constructs. Absolutely.
And again, This Week in Face the Nation can be heard every Sunday on Bloomberg Radio.
Let's turn to the latest in the global trade war now, Karen. China is warning countries not to make deals with the U.S. that could harm Beijing's interests, and it's threatening reciprocal countermeasures if they do. We get more from Bloomberg's Min Lo in Hong Kong.
This is clearly a warning from China that it's going to watch these trade negotiations very closely. Anybody that undercuts China's interests is going to face retaliation from China. And of course, we are watching very closely. The first to go is Japan, heading into that second round of trade negotiations with Trump. It comes after presidency just finished his Southeast Asian trip with a consistent message calling on all of these countries to jointly oppose U.S. hegemony.
Bloomberg's Min Lo says in an effort to counter some of the U.S.'s recent moves, China has stepped up diplomatic outreach to Southeast Asia and Europe.
And that's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Karen Moscow.
I'm Nathan Hager, and this is Bloomberg.